Hello, everyone, and welcome to In-House Counsel Insights, which brings together in-house counsel from different practice areas and different companies to share their tips and experiences with the audience. On today's show is Arthur Bryan. He's in-house counsel with Hellas Construction. Thanks for being with us today, Brian.
Thanks, Chris. I'm glad to join you. Thanks for the invitation.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you. So why don't we start with Hellas? So why don't you tell us what Hellas does and what your role at Hellas is right now?
All right. So Hellas is a specialty sports construction company as well as a synthetic turf manufacturer. Hellas works not only with some of your largest NFL teams across the country, such as the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, the Raiders, recently the Tennessee Titans, but they also work with soccer clubs as well as with K through 12, secondary and your higher education institutions. But aside from being a really great vertically integrated construction contractor, they also manufacture synthetic turf. And from that, they've got some really unique applications as to how they deliver science in the field of sports and the sports play through their manufacturing process, as well as through their own applications of how they put the turf together. So when you ever see the field at the Texans there in Houston or the Cowboys Stadium, you can really think of Hellas for that. So,
and do you know how big the industry is? I'm just curious.
So you have a number of players in the industry. The industry is continuously growing as you get into more environmentally sound practices. When you think of just here, even in the Lone Star State, of water conservation, water issues, and that's happening as we get out of either droughts or we're thinking of how are we better managing our resources. But you're really talking about a landscape where industry and those in this field, or at least in the industry, anywhere between $5 and $10 billion, and it's growing every day. So,
okay, that's very interesting. And you were telling me before we started recording that you just hired an associate counsel, right?
I did.
So one of your things, is building a legal department, right, at Hellas?
Yes. So I am their first legal hire. So if anyone has been in that situation, they know that comes with a lot of listening. But at the same time, I'm responsible for rolling out ethics and compliance, risk management. I'm responsible for setting the commercial tone or working with the leadership on what are our risks, what are our basic contracting requirements, how are we going to present to the world? How are we going to protect our IP, deal with human resources, labor issues, commodities, supply chain? So I am having to build out an entire legal department from scratch, which is both exciting and nerve-wracking all at the same time, because you want to get it right and you have an opportunity to get it right at the front end. Otherwise, you as the head of legal or the GC or chief legal officer, you have to live with some of your decisions if you don't get it right the first time. So I have been undergoing hiring and looking at candidates and bringing on an associate counsel who actually worked here before, who wanted another opportunity to actually come back to the company to work under a more seasoned attorney. And I made the decision, and I made the right decision, because of the institutional knowledge this individual is bringing with them, for the relationships that she has already had and very well established relationships here in the company. And she's highly regarded and very well respected. Not to mention, she's an individual who got a law degree from Columbia, went to USC for an LLM, very competent, capable individual. I feel privileged and lucky to have this individual join the team. But I'm not done. Any law department you're starting, you're going to have to cross the entire bandwidth just from a legal practice to really find those individuals that are going to be right for a company like ours.
And let's talk about that a little bit. So you touched on the institutional experience, and that totally makes sense. So when you're building out the rest of the team, Is there anything in particular you're going to look for to add someone that is appropriate for your burgeoning legal department?
Yes. So what I'm going to be looking for is, obviously, I think it goes without saying, fit for the environment. Everyone is not going to find themselves to be a right fit for a specialty sports contractor, really getting in and engaging in a level of project management. But at the same time, I'm looking for expertise. I'm looking for individuals who are willing to put in a little bit of extra effort, some additional sweat equity that you may not have to engage in or deal with if you are already at a very well existing legal department. People with creative ideas who are coming with ways to be more efficient. Process improvement is a lot of what I'm talking about with the leadership team here. And how are we managing our risk? How are we going to do our business better? How do we get lean? Are there other, say, Six Sigma principles that folks are going to come with? Yeah, we typically don't talk about that from a legal perspective, but if you think about it, we're in the relationship business, but we're also in a business where we can help companies be better, faster, and at the end of the day, increase profits for those shareholders that we have to have an impact with. So I'm looking for, to be honest, game changers. I'm looking for people who want to get themselves in a place and help build, because there's a lot of greatness that comes of just delivering something from a footprint that's created out of nothing. So,
are there any practice areas you're looking for right now?
So I am looking for someone who has some experience in M&A, because we are doing that. I had the fortune of having some M&A put in front of me and taking on that challenge right at the very beginning. I am going to be looking for other folks who have acumen or expertise from labor and employment, and those who have really a background from construction. Because that's what we do at the end of the day. We design, we build, and then we deliver to our customers. So having those, finance, construction, I'm eventually going to be seeking IP, because a lot of what we do is garnered around technology, particularly as we look at bringing in new technologies to the company. So,
well, you heard it here. If you're interested in working at Hella's, contact Bryan on LinkedIn. I think it sounds like a really good opportunity. So, Bryan, as you build up your legal department, are you still going to be working with outside counsel?
So, yes, I will continue to work with outside counsel. I think that goes without saying that building a legal department, I'm going to have to rely on those that held my seat before I got here. I will continue to foster the relationships that are already existing within the company, because they have served the company very well before I got here. But I'm also going to be looking at bringing in new outside counsel as it's appropriate, within budget, and as it makes sense, as we evolve through the work, as the needs of the company change. And so when I think of just outside counsel, I think of folks. Are you available? Are you ready? Are you communicative? Are you responsive? Are you going to be able to keep the pace that I'm running at? So, and that's very important. My job is to deliver not only to the internal stakeholders and to our customers, but it is to support the leadership team and the CEO who I report to. In order to do that, I have to have the right individuals providing guidance and counsel at the moment's notice that sometimes I need it. That's critically important, is being there, spot on with information. I can't speak enough about brevity, because that's my delivery to the CEO is not a 8-page memo. Tell me exactly what the answer is. Of course, I will read your analysis, make the recommendation. So if you're not prepared to do that, then it's going to be a challenge for you to work with me, because that's what I'm looking for in my outside counsel. I'm looking for folks putting in a little bit extra effort, and are they helping me to see around the corner as I'm trying to help the company and the CEO do exactly the same thing?
And so you mentioned responsiveness, you mentioned brevity, and I kind of read in between the lines some like business sense, common sense from outside counsel. Is there anything else that you're looking for as you vet different firms?
Well, what is important to me, obviously, I'm a diverse attorney. I think that goes without saying. I have an opportunity to lead this organization as a diverse attorney. And so that is important to me. And it's not just important to me when I think of diversity for the sake of diversity, but I am looking for minds that cross the spectrum. Are you a first generation
Mm,
lawyer that's practicing at a particular law firm? Are you someone seasoned in depth? Have you returned back to the practice of law? And you've got a different view of what the law is now. Obviously, you've got to be very good, or you have to have the expertise and you've got to be able to deliver right the first time. But with that being said, do you have the ability to show me if I go to you as outside counsel and say, I want a diverse group of individuals working on my matter? And I mean that very sincerely. Age, ethnicity, race,
mhm.
gender. To me, that is the best companies and best legal departments are really utilizing the minds that are out there. If you send me an RFP and I look at a panel and I hire your firm and you've got the right mix of folks there, and I look at your invoicing and I see there's only been folks who there's no diversity in your billing, I'm probably going to say thank you for the work that you've done, but you've not delivered what you committed to at the very front end.
Mm.
Commitments, I think, are things that you have to be time honored about. And so if you say you're going to deliver and deliver in a certain fashion, you've got to do that for me.
I love that. So have you ever worked at a firm, Arthur?
So I briefly worked at a firm about 18 months right out of law school, in between the time from taking the bar and getting hired on at Bechtel. They're oil, gas, and chemical. They're now Bechtel Energy. And so I went to a boutique IP litigation firm. I helped that partner there start really his business licensing side of the practice. His customers, or excuse me, his clients were asking for it. They came to him directly and said, "Hey, we're litigating these issues. You are an expert in the field. Have you considered going on the front side to prevent us from being here?" And so I had that opportunity to go there, but I felt that my short tenure at that firm just wasn't enough. So
Okay. And has working as outside counsel helped you in your in-house role?
I stayed in house about 10 years, both at an EPC company that is Bechtel, their energy business and their infrastructure business based out of London, as well as a managing and operating contractor for one of the US Department of Energy's national lab, that is Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So I took all of the commercial acumen, the transactional skills, the people skills, the nuance complexities that come with juggling varying issues, matters, delivery streams, and took it to a law firm. I thought what I was missing was that traditional practice of the law that helps you become a real technical
Hmm.
legal practitioner. Because Arthur's opinion, working at a law firm provides a certain level of deep dive, if you will, into the law. I, of
Mhm.
course, am reading the law. I'm staying abreast of it. But can I be an expert on a particular area of the law? The answer is no. My job is to look across, to be a good business partner, as well as to spot legal issues and provide guidance. But am I the expert on nuanced construction matters or defect claims? I've gotten there, yes, because that's a bit of my background. But there are individuals out there who, day in and day out, that is their core practice, their study of the law. And so that's what I wanted. That's what I got at a law firm, at a boutique law firm of all places, and the opportunity to not only work with municipalities and serve as their outside general counsel in an appointed role of a city attorney, but I also got to help build a corporate and commercial practice where I could merge the two. I could go with business structuring and help my clients understand funding mechanisms through municipalities or permitting or zoning issues, while I could immediately turn around and help my municipal clients understand nuanced commercial applications, transactions that they were doing, whether it was construction, public improvement, or just your everyday needs of both public and private procurement, as well as bring a certain level of labor and employment to cross above. So I was able to juggle, honestly, two separate practice areas. And I have to be honest, I knew nothing about municipal law. That wasn't my practice. So I got to learn an entirely new area of the law and get really good at it, and get good at it in a very short period of time. Because if you have 19 cities of varying sizes, they have varying demands. But the one thing that they were no short on, they all were in high populous growth areas. And that came with its own set of unique challenges and a consistent need to become an expert very quickly in a lot of different areas. I probably know more about water law than I ever expected. Now I feel I can talk to people when they're asking questions about what do I do when the Public Utility Commission is asking questions about water rights or changes or rates, or what do I do if I need to go get a permit to go modify an entire commercial zoned area because I want to make it residential. Texas is a place that's burgeoning with growth. Your clients really appreciate when you can talk across the aisle.
So going from a service provider at a firm back to in-house counsel, did that help you kind of from a client service standpoint, like understanding that difference of perspective?
It absolutely did. And I don't think I could be here at Hellas and being immediately impactful without making a career stop at that firm, because I have always said lawyers are in the relationship business. It doesn't matter where your practice is. It doesn't matter your tenure in the practice. Your job is to deliver to your clients and to deliver to them effectively, efficiently, so they can continue with their business and what they need. And so having the ability coming from a firm to really look at nuanced issues in a very short order, or understanding where to go get the answers very quickly, because I was challenged and forced to do that, I'm able to come here at Hellas and do exactly the same thing without understanding a lot at this point of what a specialty sports contractor is. They're in a unique field, unique practice area or industry, And so I am now becoming or able to become an expert because I'm spending the time necessary. But I think I could not do that if I didn't have the skill set already equipped with me as I started, because I am, again, juggling business lines, personalities, leaders, leadership, and their role in what they have to deliver. But I'm also able to be a sounding board. I'm also able to think outside the box and help them consider areas that they may have not considered before.
That's great. I'm going to end with one last question, because you mentioned Bechtel a couple times, and I think it's just really interesting how you got your job there. So why don't you tell us how that ended up happening?
So my going to Bechtel, as you said, it's a really unique story. There's an individual, he's no longer with a company, but I like Pappasito's. He liked Pappasito's. I would go eat there. He would go eat there. I could probably tell you the dessert he enjoyed because that was the one opportunity he had to have dessert on the days that he went. But I sat down and we just started talking. And I think this is the beauty of, you never know who you're sitting with. You really have to appreciate the nature of the relationships that you are creating and you are making. Because at the time, I wasn't necessarily looking to go work for a mega or a large EPC contractor. I wasn't my background's not in engineering. I'm not a, financial analyst, political science and speech comm. But what I did do was have conversations about what I was interested in, what the future, my enjoyment of travel, living around the globe, what was the next place I thought was on my travel bucket list, if you will, and actually got recruited from those conversations to join the company and to go actually to a very far-reaching place, Angola, Africa. I had never heard of it, but what they were looking for was someone who was willing to leave the US, take on a new adventure, want to stretch their experience. They're willing to try. Honestly, are you willing to just simply try? And I was. Therefore, I sat in an interview at the time with one of the heads, and he says, look, my boss, you're not interviewing because we don't think you're competent. This is a matter of what skills do you want to learn? And is this a company you think you can learn those skills from? Because we're not for everyone. And he was very sincere about that. And I told him, I'm up for the challenge. What are you asking me to do? Now, at the time, interviewing, had I know exactly I was going to Angola, Africa, I would have asked for more. I would have asked some different questions. So, those who are young in their career, I say, be a little careful if your situations are, you're young, the world is your oysters, no kids, you're not married, you go anywhere, because you could wind up in some of the most far-reachest places of the earth. But it was a blessing in disguise. So I'm very thankful for my time there at Bechtel, because that is where I really got my legal experience and an opportunity to both transform from a legal practitioner, but also to really cut my teeth from a commercial standpoint and commercial acumen when you talk about a company the size of Bechtel. They built around the globe. They're 125 years old. So you can ask for a better place. And frankly, I couldn't have asked for a better environment to start a legal career, because you never know what you can do until you're placed in a situation that forces you to have to rise to the occasion. Did I think my living quarters for 9 months would be smaller than my freshman dorm room? No. But that was an opportunity, and it's guided my principles today from a practice standpoint to say, you really can do just about anything you are willing to put your mind to, and put forth a little bit of effort, even a little bit of sweat equity to get it done. So.
Well, you certainly rose to the challenge, Arthur, and I want to thank you for being here today. You've been a great guest. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.